In episode 1, Ivan is walking along the street and he flags down a car for a lift. It knocks him over, the impact of his body breaking the windshield, and he's left on the ground. In the present, meanwhile, Benjamin is in jail, bemoaning the fact that none of his kids have come to see him in months. Ari is the one visiting him, and he's trying to appeal to her, telling her that he's innocent. She seems to believe him, but the others don't. He wants Ari to get the siblings to put on a united front and go back to school, otherwise they're all cut off, and she says she'll fix it. Patrick and Ivan meet up and he tells Patrick that at least the crew from last year, Samuel, that crew, isn't there this year. They're in a relationship, by the way, and Ivan is the one who uses the boyfriend label. There's a new kid as well, not really new to the school, but new to us. His name is Nico, and everybody's congratulating him. He's trans and he finally has an ID card that matches his gender identity as male. Isadora, remember she was SA'd last season. Her parents are trying to distract her with fancy things, but of course it doesn't help in her recovery. They also have a brand new club, restaurant empire, and all the kids are there to party on opening night. Ivan's gross father is there as well. Mencia meanwhile meets a girl named Sarah who is at the school for good PR. She's an influencer, and her boyfriend Raul, they're kind of like a package deal. Sarah ends up leaving the party and Mencia and Raul end up chatting and they end up leaving together as well. Even though nothing has happened yet, they end up having some kind of after party back at Sarah and Raul's place, but Sarah is not in the mood, so she sends Mencia home. At the party, which Isadora is DJing, she starts to have a bit of a panic attack as she has flashbacks to the night of her assault. Her mother gives her drugs to try and calm her down, but it's more kind of to forget about the issue than it is really to help her. Ivan and Patrick have a little drama. Patrick is understandably still insecure about Ivan's possible residual feelings for his sister Ari. Ivan had also kissed Isa at the party, which Patrick didn't like. It was one of those everyone kisses that they always do at these parties on the show, but it's clear that Ivan is more into the party scene than Patrick, who is kind of over it. He tells Ivan that he dreads the day that Ivan won't be there anymore, and that it's difficult for him to really enjoy things without worrying about losing them. Ari meanwhile goes over to Nico at the party and she's unsure at first if she could be into somebody who's trans, but it's not that major a concern at first. She likes him anyway. She ends up saying some insensitive and, according to Nico, transphobic things, so he's not interested. Isa gets a call from her mother saying that her assault case, will be dismissed and there'll be no trial due to the lack of evidence. Her mother isn't trying very hard to fight for her though. She just wants it all over with. Then they revive a terrible storyline that pretty much confirms that this season is going to be just as bad as last. Cruz, Ivan's dad, borderline ODs. Well, he takes too much of whatever he's taking, but he's kind of fine. He's conscious. He starts hitting on Patrick, and then he says that he misses him and how lucky Ivan is. Cruz is quite forceful. Not that he physically restrains Patrick or anything, but he gets really close and in his space, and he doesn't let up. He corners Patrick and kisses him just as Ivan walks in. Ivan pretty much breaks up with Patrick, and I hate this show. Isa has a guy who works at her hotel fired because he was rude to her. He accused her of making up the accusations of her assault, so he properly deserved it. We're reminded, by the way, that Ivan was willing to testify in court as a witness to Isa's assault, and the other guys are mad about it. At the end of the episode, the show's first scene plays out, with Ivan bleeding out from the head and a car speeding away. In episode 2, the guys who assaulted Isa have managed to rally support around their cause, even though the trial being dismissed doesn't mean that they're innocent. It's gross incel behavior and it's pretty scary. Ari and Nico go out to dinner together. Patrick sends out a video taking the blame for the Cruz makeout session, which has since gone viral. Cruz is a famous football star, remember. Ivan calls him and Patrick admits that he sabotaged himself and them and says that Ivan was his first love. It's still kind of a breakup call though, they don't get back together, but things are kind of patched over for now. Nico and Ari end up in bed together and it's very awkward because she's unsure of what's in his pants and it makes her nervous. Obviously, instead of being honest about that, she wants to drink, which frustrates Nico and he walks away. Sarah has been using her own social media to accuse Isa of lying about her assault, but then she finds out that the assault actually did happen. She sends a video taking back all of her accusations and she includes a PSA on assault in the video. Raul gets really angry because that has cost him lots of followers and that could affect their income. He gets really physically aggressive with her then as well. Cruz puts on a press conference and admits that he's the one who initiated the kiss this with Patrick and that it's his son's boyfriend and he's a really good guy, he comes out as gay then. In episode 3, the guy who Issa got fired ends up being one of her advocates and he wants to help her, but Issa is tired because doors keep shutting on her. See, this guy recorded one of his friends, Khabi, who had participated in the assault, and in the recording, Khabi admits that he and the guys took advantage of Issa while she was passed out. He also severs ties with Khabi, but this recording is not admissible in court. Cruz encourages Ivan to move in with Patrick and he tells him it'll be a great experience for him and their relationship and it'll give Cruz his space to do his own thing. In reality, Cruz doesn't feel that Ivan is safe at the house because someone left him an anonymous threat there. And the threat was a homophobic one, obviously a response to him coming out as gay at the press conference. By the way, Bilal is in this season and he's a lot more likable, so much so that I don't even know if I want him getting mixed up in this messy crowd. Anyway, he and Ari hook up. The girls then devise a plan to get back at Issa's assaulters. They drug them, and the next day at school, the guys found out that they have the R word, what they did to Issa, tattooed on their backs. One of the guys, Khabi, starts apologizing to Issa and asking for her forgiveness, but his friends drag him away. In episode 4, in a future scene, there is a funeral going on, and Ari comes and tells Patrick that Ivan's family wants to begin. The homophobic attacks on Cruz's home continue. One of the guys, Khabi, tries to apologize to Issa, but she chases him out. She wants none of it. As he's leaving, he shouts at her that she shouldn't trust Ivan, that there's a truth about him that Issa should know. Mencia goes over to talk to Sarah about Raul's suspected abuse. Mencia had spotted some bruises on Sarah's back in the change rooms earlier. Raul, thinking that Sarah is home alone, ends up calling her to check in on her. He's so paranoid, he even asks her to take a live video of the living room for some reason. During Cruz's first soccer game, while he has a lot of support, his homophobic hooligan fans end up turning things into a pretty violent brawl. And Cruz later gets jumped by a group of hooligans in a violent road rage incident outside of his home. Raul comes home to see that Sarah has packed all of her things. She's gone. She goes over to Mencia's with her bags. At the end of the episode, it looks like it's Cruz's funeral. This character has been the biggest nuisance in the history of the series, so I'm not sad to see him go, but I hate the way that they did it. I mean, it's a hate crime, and even though this is a work of fiction, I don't want to sound glib about it. This is a pretty heartbreaking storyline. In episode 5, one of the guys, Khabi, the supposed least rotten one of the group, but still rotten, tries to convince Issa that Ivan and Philippe, remember Prince Philippe? Well, yeah, that those two also participated in her assault, but Philippe has since run off, and now Ivan is posing as her best friend. Now, in case you've forgotten, quick flashback to last season, remember both Ivan and Philippe were feeling really bad the next day, and they were panicking, guilty for what might have happened in Issa's hotel room, but although both of their instincts had told them that they couldn't have done it. Anyway, the video showed them as well that they actually tried to get to Issa to help her. They were too out of it though, and they ended up passing out. At the time, Philippe was also ready to take accountability if he did do anything. So unless the show is going to retcon this incident, then these guys and Khabi are lying. And both Ivan and Philippe didn't touch Issa. Anyway though, hearing this is pretty triggering for Issa. It's clear that this is messing with her head because when Ivan tries to reach out to her after the death of his father, she's quite hostile and unsupportive towards him. Ivan also tells her that having Patrick there always is kind of smothering him, and it just serves as a reminder of everything that's happened with his dad. By the way, Ari has been carrying this flask around, and I'm hoping that it's a water bottle, but just then Mencia talks to her about it and tells her that she rarely sees Ari sober these days. Ari isn't really receptive to the offer for help though. Speaking of Ari's character arc, they've worked so hard to make us like her. I liked her a lot, but maybe too much of her screen time is devoted to which boy she's hooking up with, and I want more for her character. I will say, though, that this season she is struggling with the death of Samuel, who was pretty much the love of her life, if those exist at that age, and the fact that her father was the one responsible for his death. She's had a very difficult 2 seasons. Issa has a nightmare about Ivan. By the way, she's another character that I've done a complete 180 on. I didn't care much for her last season, but somehow she's one of my favorite characters this season, after Patrick and Ari, of course. Nico decides that he wants to do gender confirmation surgery. He's obviously having issues having sex as a trans man, and it's been causing him a lot of distress throughout the season. His parents think that he's still too young and that he should wait to make that decision as an adult, but this is upsetting to him, and he says that if his dad won't do it, his dad's a doctor, a surgeon, he'll find someone else to do it. He then starts selling steroids to the jocks at school. Apparently his surgeon dad keeps his medicine cabinet unlocked and unattended. This is a dumb storyline, but I guess most high school shows will have it at some point. The steroids one, I mean. Javi, the guy who tried to pin everything on Ivan, starts to feel bad about it, and eventually at the urging of his childhood friend, who is now Isa's friend, he decides to come clean to Isadora. Patrick gives Ari the address of where Samuel is buried, and she kind of has her come to Jesus moment, and she admits to Ivan that she thought that alcohol would help, but it doesn't. She lied about being able to cope. They end up having sex, and Patrick catches them. He says that he doesn't deserve any of it, and he walks away. Raul manipulates his way back into Sarah's life. Eventually, when Ivan and Patrick have it out, Ivan admits that even though he knows that none of it is Patrick's fault, every time he looks at Patrick, he can't help but think that if his dad had never met Patrick, he might still be alive, and that his dad came out because of Patrick. Episode 6 opens with Ari pouring petrol over a car, presumably about to torch it. In the present, we see that Benjamin has gifted all 3 of his kids with customized cars to remind them of how much he loves them. Ari goes to visit her father, and he tells her that he needs her to testify in the trial. She's obviously uncomfortable. Ivan is packing up his father's things, and then he starts drinking and finds his father's stash. He gets wasted. He ends up inviting people over to a group sex party, and Patrick gets wind of it when he's invited without Ivan knowing. Raul's manipulation of Sarah continues, and I won't go into detail because it's gross and uncomfortable. There's another character named Rocio, and she's one of the new rich kids at the school. She's really smart and bubbly around her school friends, but it feels like when she's with Bilal, with whom she takes an instant liking, it feels as though she's on some kind of journey of discovery, trying to find her roots, her identity as one of the few black women in that space among her classmates. This is a fairly relatable storyline, I guess. I just think that they tackled a similar issue with Nadia's storyline in the first season a little better than they're doing here. Anyway, I like them as separate characters, but their interactions feel a little bit forced because it's as though they're trying to bond over their Africanness, but they do have really different backgrounds, so they struggle to find things in common. And actually, Bilal says something similar to his friends when they don't understand why he doesn't have much initial interest in her. Issa offers to pay for Nico's surgery if he gets her some medical grade drugs to possibly kill Hugo and her assaulters. Well, turns out the medication will actually medically castrate them. Mencia and Sarah go for a joyride in Mencia's new car, and I'm sure that there was alcohol in their drinks. Patrick goes over to the house, and oh boy, people are basically carrying on all over the place. It looks pretty seedy and potentially unsafe since they're all using a lot as well. Patrick finds Ivan then, and they start making out, which actually is pretty gross because Ivan is pretty much out of it. Ivan does realize though that it's Patrick, and he tells Patrick that he should have died instead of his dad, Cruz. Ari eventually confronts her dad and says that she knows what happened with Samu wasn't an accident. He let Samu die. At the end of the episode, Ari does set the car alight. And Rosia and Bilal hook up. In episode 7, Ivan is in the ICU, and this is the aftermath of his accident, but still sometime in the future. Patrick says that he has a bad feeling that he won't get a chance to say goodbye. Raul catches Mencia and Sarah hooking up at a party at Isadora's, and he later drugs Mencia's drink. Ari, very drunk, decides to leave the party. She gets into her car and drives away. After Patrick and Ivan get into another fight, Ivan goes out looking for Isa's driver, who's meant to take him to Patrick because Ivan wants to apologize. He flags down a passing car thinking it's the driver, and that's where we see the accident scene. Later then, we see Mencia is the one behind the wheel of a car with a destroyed windshield. In episode 8, the final episode of season 6, Mencia gets out to survey the damage, and she obviously knows that she's hit someone. When Ari calls her to tell her that Ivan's been hit by a car, she admits immediately that she's the one who ran him over. That's the car that Ari comes and decides to set on fire then. Patrick's car that Mencia took from the party. Ivan is eventually out of the ICU, but he's still sedated. He doesn't look good, but he'll probably live. Ari tells her dad everything, and he tells her that if they all testify for him, he can be free, and then he can take them far away from there. By the way, Ivan and Ari's hookup has resulted in Ari getting pregnant. She says to a classmate who accidentally found out that she has an appointment at the clinic tomorrow though. She will terminate the pregnancy, and this classmate is very supportive. She'll come with her. Hugo and Alex, two of Issa's assaulters, plan to reoffend at the club. Harry, the third friend who grew a conscience, knows of their plan, and as they're about to carry it out, the police come knocking and take them away. Harry not only turned in than the others, but he turned himself in as well. Patrick leaves a goodbye voice note for Yvonne, respecting Yvonne's previous wish to be left alone, and the whole family decides to move away. Then we see how the end scene with Mencia actually played out. She had taken Patrick's keys, but Sarah had found her in the parking lot about to get into Patrick's car. Mencia was all passed out in the car while Sarah was driving. Sarah was concerned for her and didn't keep her eyes on the road. She was the one who ran into Yvonne. She drove off then, and then in her panic, called Raul, who came over and helped her cover things up and make as though Mencia was the driver. He even wiped Sarah's prints from the car. Oh, he's going to think that he owns her forever for this. At the end of the episode, the first word that Yvonne says when he wakes up is Patrick. And Issa and the guy who's been there for her all season finally kiss, but just then there is a drive-by shooting. This probably has something to do with the possibly shady business that this guy's brother, not him, is involved in. And that is the end of season 6 of Elite. Thank you for watching.